About a year ago, I posted a video where I showcased myself setting up my first ever reading journal. Today, I'm going to be giving you the scoop on what did and didn't work from my past reading journal, what I'm changing about my 2022 setup, and we're just going to have a lot of book/journal fun. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform for designing beautiful websites. More on them in a little bit. In that description box below, I'm also going to include links to some blog posts I've written with some book recommendations and a link where you can sign up for my Monday morning newsletter where I do share the current books I'm reading. Last year, I read 100 books, so there was a lot to share. This year, we're scaling things back a bit, but still, I think some good quality stuff coming. And on that note, let's dive in. Before I get into the new stuff, here are some things I learned from my first reading journal experience. A traveler's journal is too small for my needs. When I wanted to make really detailed notes in my reading journal, the traveler's notebook size just felt too limiting. I also didn't love the experience of writing on the left page in particular of this notebook so much, so for the second version, I decided to upgrade to my typical A5 size from Archer and Olive. I don't think this specific design is available anymore, but you can check out the other plethora of designs by clicking the link below. I went into my first reading journal thinking I'd be making notes as I read, but I realized my speed reading brain hated stopping every chapter to make notes. So I'm going into this journal with a done is better than perfect headspace and opting for more casual notes or detailed notes depending on what mood is striking me for that particular read. This journal is also my attempt to recommit to the reading journal life. I feel like I drifted away from it throughout 2021, but whenever I look back at my old notes, I think they're the coolest thing ever. So I want to be more consistent with this process, and using fresh new spreads is a great way to recommit myself. To start off, I made the first page a title page for the journal. I'm pasting in a piece of colored paper that I printed out. I did this same thing in my previous Plan With Me video, and I love the splash of color so much that I decided to bring it back for these layouts. Then I went in with the bold side of my Tombow monotwin marker to create some decorative swirls and write out the title. I'll have this marker linked below. It's one of my favorites, as well as links to everything else I use in today's video. This next spread is my 2022 reading tracker. I figured that since I have a lot more space with this size journal, it'd be best to make my reading tracker for the entire year at once rather than with what I did with my last journal, only creating enough to track the first half of the year. The more pre-planning I can do, the easier it will be to keep up with this journal. Each month gets its own peachy pink rectangle where I will be able to record the books I read that month and my star rating out of 5 next to it. I keep track of this information on Goodreads too, so if you want to follow along with my readings, that's the place to do it. When writing the names for each month, I really tried to keep my wrist loose so I'd be left with this really imperfect cursive that I find so fun to use in spreads. It makes the page just feel so much more organic, whatever that means. I don't know. It sounds right in my head. I then went in with my Sharpie S-Gel black pen to add some book stacks sporadically throughout the spread on the top of the title rectangles. I had originally planned to do this on every rectangle, but I feel like less was really more here, and I absolutely love how cozy it makes the spread feel. And the best part is that book stack doodles are pretty simple to do, so it's a win for the struggling doodlers out there, me included. If you're looking for some book recommendations for your 2022 reading list, I've got some blog posts on my site, caitlindesilva.com, with some titles that are worth checking out. My blog is proudly run using Squarespace's all-in-one platform that makes writing, formatting, and posting beautiful looking content so simple. With Squarespace, I'm able to batch write a ton of posts when I feel inspired and pre-schedule posts to go live throughout the month so that I have one less thing to worry about adding to my to-do list. Squarespace also makes it super easy to customize the look of your site with different fonts, colors, and professional elements like search engines, meaning your audience can easily find what they're looking for. So if while filling in your reading journal, you decide you want to share your thoughts on your favorite reads with the world, then starting a book blog could be a fun adventure to tackle, and Squarespace is ready for you to get started. Check out squarespace.com today for a free trial and use the URL squarespace.com/Caitlin's Corner to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. No reading journal is complete without a spot for me to record books on my TBR. I had found these very artsy photos on Pinterest that I wanted to include in this journal, and this layout felt like a perfect opportunity to do that and spice up an otherwise pretty simple list spread. Again, I use that same loose wrist writing technique to write out the title for this page of books I want to read, and created a dedicated section for writing nonfiction books and fiction titles. On the bottom right page, I wrote this quote that says, "Reading forces you to be quiet in a world that no longer makes a place for that." I just think that quote really beautifully sums up one of my favorite parts about reading. It's this quiet bubble amidst the chaos of the daily to-do list. When I paste in photos from the internet, I find it fun to go in with my pen and personalize the photos with some doodles. I don't put too much thought into this process, but I'll typically border elements in the page, add lines, little bursts of star confetti, etc., etc. It really is a powerful way of adding that scrapbook look. The books to read theme carries over with this next spread. I started by pasting in some of that pinkish paper again to tie the spread in with the rest of the journal so far. The left rectangle is a place for me to keep track of authors to keep my eye on. I have certain authors that are auto-buy authors for me where I don't even really feel the need to read the synopsis before buying their latest release. And then I sometimes read debuts that blow me away. So I want to have this section to be a spot for me to record those new favorite authors that I want to ensure I don't forget about when it comes time to finding the next title I want to read. As of late, the place on the internet where I get the most of my book recommendations is TikTok. So a majority of the spread is dedicated to having a place to record any books that pop up on my feed that I want to look more into, and possibly even recording the user who recommended it to me, if it's a specific video that really pulled me in. But usually once they end up on this list, it's because I've seen them multiple times get mentioned. I feel like in 2021, I became a bit more picky with which books I gave 5 stars to, so I figured it'd be convenient to keep track of which books in 2022 I end up giving a 5-star rating to, because these are the books I typically want to ensure I pass on as book recommendations, whether that be to people in real life or to humans on the internet. I divided up the page into 2 sections where I can distinguish between nonfiction 5-star reads and fiction ones. Last year, I didn't have too many 5-star reads, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that 2022 ends up being an even better reading year for exciting titles. On the right page, I started by doodling in a rough open book and pen. This is a page I want to keep fairly blank so I can record quotes I can't stop thinking about, so I felt like it needed a spicy header to make it pop. After doodling in the book and pen, I pasted in a speech bubble I had cut out earlier with the same peachy paper and pasted it in. I love how the left side and the right side of the spread connect together visually, and I think a large part of that is due to the pop of color that they both have. This next page is really the meat of what this reading journal will look like, the notes section. Now, because I don't want my page designs to be barriers to keeping me consistent with my book journal, I'm not creating an intricate layout that I need to design each time I have a new book. So this is a basic template of how each spread will start off. The date I started reading it, the title, the author name, and a section to record my rating. There are so many variations I circle throughout depending on the type of book I'm reading. For most books, I'll just keep track of the basic plot points or information while tracking the chapter or page number on the left margin. For some heavy world building books, I may create a section to track characters and their relation to the main character, in addition to some notes I add after each reading session or two. This is really helpful for series that are easy to forget details of. And for books, especially rom-com style books, I'll just record the basic summary of the plot on the left page after I finish reading, and some quick thoughts or takeaways on the right. Nothing too crazy, very simple. I know this is probably the section where people want the most ideas, but this is the most intuitive section to me. It just varies book to book, and I don't think you need a lot of special planning to make it functional. I know reading journals have become very popular, especially in the last year or two here on the internet. And I want to know, have you ever dipped your toes into the water of the reading journal? Have you created one for yourself? Do you ever take reading notes? Is it something you think that would add value to your reading experience? Spill all the tea in the comment section. Thank you once again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget to click the link down in the description box below to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. I'm really excited to start filling in this new reading journal. I think the things that weren't working in my last one have been addressed in this one, so fingers crossed it's something I'm able to stick to. At the end of the day, I think like a large part of it comes down to me just being more intentional about filling it out this year. If you enjoyed today's video, it would really help me out if you gave it a big thumbs up and shared it with anyone in your life that might be interested in creating a reading journal of their own. I will see you all very soon with the next one, and until then, bye everyone.